Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Today's video is another Dollar Tree Easter decor video, and this is inspired by my carrot basket last week. I know a ton of you have had some trouble finding the carrots, so I wanted to create an alternative as well as more decor pieces. I hope you enjoy this video and stick around by subscribing to this channel. Once you hit that subscribe button, we instantly become best friends. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off with this giant egg from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove all of the contents on the inside because I am going to be spray painting this. And this one happens to bring 3 little lollipops, so you can go ahead and re-gift that when you're done. I'm going to go ahead and attach everything together, and I'm going to use the same stickers that I used from Dollar Tree that I used on my pumpkins. This gives it a studded milk glass effect, and they already come in strips, which makes this process a whole lot easier. I'll leave the pumpkin video below if you haven't seen that already, but I'm going to use that little circle that's up top as a guide, and I'm going to start placing my strips straight down and then adding the other one right next to it. The adhesive on this is nice and strong, so you don't have to add glue underneath it. Glue might actually cause it to slide around, so you can add some Mod Podge on top, but not on the bottom. So once you are completely done, you can go ahead and paint this right away. You have a ton of options for paint. You can either sponge on paint like I did with my pumpkins, but I'm going to spray paint it, and I'm going to use this candy pink from Rust-oleum. Because this is plastic, you want to make sure that you're using something that bonds to plastic. Make sure it dries really well before moving on, and this is what it looks like. You can do another coat if you want. I wanted to leave it alone, and I used the greenery from this Dollar Tree bouquet. I think it is so pretty. I made these into a little plant, and I plan on using this to create a little wreath around the egg. So I just used scissors since there's no wire in this, and I cut it off from the bouquet and left the bouquet alone so that I can reuse it later on. Now you don't have to do this next step, but I used one of the Dollar Tree oil burners to put this on just to give it a little bit of height, and I love the detail on this. I used some hot glue to attach the greenery to the top to create something that looked like a wreath, and then I placed my egg in the middle and kept adding greenery to try and cover the seam, but all of it wasn't covered, and that's okay. I still really loved the outcome, and bam, I have a beautiful little egg display, or whatever you want to call it. For the next one, I used this floral foam from Dollar Tree and this burlap ribbon in this beautiful seafoam green color. Now this isn't a complete ribbon, I have used it for something else, so I didn't think that all of this would actually cover the entire thing. So what I did was I placed hot glue on one end, and when I was wrapping, I made sure that it overlapped just a little bit so that I can make the most out of my ribbon. So as you can see here, it's overlapping, but I'm not leaving too much space because I was really paranoid that I would have to go back and try and find the same ribbon at Dollar Tree, and we all know how hard it is to do that. So if you're doing this at home and you have unused ribbon, this should be no problem. Thankfully, I made it all the way to the end. I added a little bit more hot glue to that one side, and then I flipped it over and kind of spread out those other pieces, and I think it looked pretty great. Now I'm going to use this bunny from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut just the ears off using some side cutters. I was cutting a little bit lower on the wire because I thought I would actually use the wire part to stick it onto the wreath, but I didn't end up doing that. Now that I removed the ears, I'm just going to go ahead and remove everything else but the cardboard that's on there. I am going to use the cardboard so that it makes it easier for me to be able to cover. So now that everything is removed, both of the ears came apart, and that is okay. I flipped over my wreath and then I attached it using hot glue, and here's where you can see where the wires do stick down, but that's okay, I do end up cutting them down. Flipped my wreath over and I used these wildflowers from Dollar Tree. They also have really pretty greenery. So what I did was I removed everything from the stems. I mean everything. The flowers, the greenery, the leaves, which are also greenery. I am using everything. To make sure I get the most out of one bouquet, I'm going to take the leaves, remove the little plastic part, and start actually wrapping the ears in that. You're not going to be able to see the leaves later on, but I want this to look nice and full. So I'm going to do the outline in leaves, making sure that I'm gluing everything down so nothing is sticking out all funky, and then I'll add the rest of my stuff later. Then I took the prettier greener pieces and I just did the outline on the edges just to make it look like everything is covered in that and not actually having to buy another bouquet. So if you do need to cut these down shorter, definitely do that. It is really easy to cut. It cuts easily with just scissors. You don't need side cutters. For the flowers that came on the bouquet, I ended up adding them to the middle, but you don't have to add them at all, or you can do all flowers. It's up to you and what you think looks good. This is what I happen to love. So I did this to both of the ears, and I think this looks great for a nursery as well. Now it was still a little plain, so I added 2 little carrots to the bottom. I just placed a little bit of hot glue and had them dangling. And then I wanted to add a little bit of greenery just so it matched the greenery up top. So once I had that in place, I added some of the greenery that I had left over to one of the stems, and then I covered that with the rest of the flowers. For this whole wreath, I only used 2 of the wildflower bouquets. This is what it looks like, and I still thought it was a little plain, so I grabbed some burlap and made a ribbon. This is just burlap that I've had in my house forever. I didn't show you how to make a ribbon because I've said it 1,000 times. I kind of suck at it, so once I made as best as I could, I glued it up top and bam, I think this looks super duper cute. For my next tutorial, I'm going to be using these carrot baskets from Dollar Tree. They are so cute and they come with very visible seams on the sides and at the bottom, as well as a handle, and I'm going to remove all of that. So for the handle, you're supposed to be able to pull it off with no problem, but some of them are kind of stuck. Mine were stuck, so I ended up using some side cutters to break it. Make sure you're not pulling so that you don't rip the felt. Just make sure that you're cutting that little piece off and then removing all of the hardware. Now I did have one that came off with no issue, and you'll see that in just a second, but be prepared, some of them don't come off very easily. This is the one that just came off with no problem. I wish they were all this way, but they're not. To open this up, I'm going to be using a seam ripper. I got this at Walmart and it's supposed to look like a hook, but mine is broken. The hook helps it get under all of that thread with no problem. You can also use scissors if you have the patience, but this goes by way faster with a seam ripper. So I'm going to start from the side and then work my way all around the bottom until this can open up completely. And when you're done, you're going to be left with a big orange circle, and you can either keep that for another craft or discard it. It's up to you. To make the tray, I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree burner cover. It comes in a pack of 2 and it brings a large one and a smaller one. I'm going to use the larger one in this tutorial. You can go ahead and use both, but you'll see why I only used one. So I'm going to get my hot glue and I'm going to start gluing it to the edge. You can glue it to the inside, but I really liked how it looked on the edge so that you don't see the white. So you're going to make your way around, and to cover this one bottom piece, I used 2.5 baskets. For the basket that overlaps a little bit, I just grabbed my scissors and cut one of my pieces down and then hot glued that together. And that is it for this. You can go ahead and glue any pieces that you see that look a little funky. And now this is what your first layer should look like. For the stand, I'm going to use a Dollar Tree rolling pin, and I am going to attach it to the middle using some E6000. As usual, I will leave the link in the description for that key that I'm using. I always get questions in every single tutorial. I'm going to add a generous amount to the middle and make sure that I spread it out really well. Too much glue is not always the best option when it comes to stuff like this. So now I'm going to place it in the middle, or as middle as I can get. So I'm going to let this layer dry overnight, and for the top you can make another tier, but that would require 2 carrot baskets to make. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 1 carrot basket as my top tier. So in order to do that and to keep any kind of level, I'm going to use this wood round. You can use anything round to support that felt basket, and then I'm going to glue the basket on top of that little support piece. When everything was dry, I filled it with my favorite greenery, and bam, I had beautiful and affordable Easter decor. If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you on the next video.